Hello there, it is Tuesday, May 22nd. Meteorologist Jim Dickey back with another edition of Tracking the Tropics. Wanted to give you an update on this potential tropical system that will work its way into the Gulf of Mexico as we go into the weekend. In fact, you can actually sort of make out what we're watching right now as you look into the southwest Caribbean. Sort of blow up with thunderstorms overnight. There's a trough of low pressure stretching from where we have the clouds and rain in place in Florida all the way down to the Caribbean, and that did produce some enhanced thunderstorm activity. During the overnight and early morning hours, it's sort of dying down now. But you can also make out here the reason why over the next 48 hours this won't be coming together, because we have way too much wind shear. Strong westerly wind shear pushing the thunderstorm activity that did develop to the east of the center. The center is actually where you sort of have that little curvature going, that other area of colors that are showing up. This is infrared satellite imagery, so what you're looking at, more or less, is the temperature at cloud tops. When you see those very bright colors showing up, you're seeing high cloud, you're seeing exploding thunderstorms. So again, the center is where you have a little curvature going on, the heavier thunderstorms being forced to the east, a sign that this is not being able to vertically stack itself, which is what a healthy and developing tropical system would do. So again, no development anytime soon, but as this makes its way into the Gulf of Mexico, going into Friday and the weekend, there's at least a chance, a moderate chance, for the National Hurricane Center that something could develop. Any development would be slow. As I'm going to show you here in a second, the conditions only so-so for this to even happen, and there's not even complete agreement in the models that this will happen. But again, there's a chance. The main threat, as I'm going to point to throughout this too, is for heavy rain. Regardless of development, this is not likely to come together to be any type of significant wind threat. So there's your sea surface temperatures across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the Atlantic. Generally speaking, when we look at our baseline for tropical development, how warm the waters have to be, 78 degrees. We're close to that. We have a 76 there off the coast of southwest Florida this morning. But for the most part, where this is headed, water temperature is right around 80 degrees. So warm enough for development, but not necessarily those numbers you see during the summer, middle and upper 80s, where we would see something just explode once it gets there. Not going to be the case. And also the wind shear is always going to be a hurdle for this to overcome. Right now, you see your current wind shear, and to get your bearings there in the northwest corner of your screen, that's the United States, see Florida down, and then the cloud area is our potential system. All the red is strong wind shear, 30 to 40 knots in the path of this thing. Again, keeping it from developing anytime soon. But there is a little bullseye, a lower shear in the northern Gulf of Mexico, and the model sort of picking up on that too. This is by Saturday. You see the very strong wind shear in the southern Gulf, lesser so in the northern Gulf, but still plenty of shear out there. So it's going to tend to keep this from getting going into anything all that strong. If there is development, in all likelihood, it will be a very weak system, borderline depression. The worst case scenario I can see is a weak tropical or subtropical storm. Regardless, here are your two models. GFS, the European, are two global models, two of the more reliable forecast models we look at. And the circle you see in each case, white being the European, green being the GFS, the circle you see is the central low pressure area with this potential storm. Notice how the European has it more closed off, perfect circle, speaking to it is leaning more towards development, where the GFS is keeping this stretched out, suggesting that maybe this doesn't, in fact, come together later on this week and this weekend. Let's focus first on the European. This is the ensemble. We talk about ensembles. We're taking our main model and we're tweaking the way it produces the forecast a number of different ways and then rerunning it each of those different ways. So when you do that and you get them all to sort of say the same thing, now you have more confidence in that model forecast. And notice all the different members, all the different L's or the different members where they're placing the center of the storm, they're placing it pretty close to Louisiana. Also note the numbers. We're seeing numbers mainly in the thousands for the central pressure. A healthy tropical system can easily have pressures 20 to 30 degrees lower than that, if not even lower when we're talking major hurricanes. So this is speaking to, while yes, they do centralize that area of low pressure and close it off, they don't produce anything all that strong. So leaning towards a weak area of low pressure, potentially a weak tropical or subtropical system as we go into the weekend. but the impacts are likely going to be fairly widespread, far removed from where that center goes. It's not really going to matter all that much where that center goes, because the main threat from this is going to be for some heavy rainfall. So this is that same model, the European. The red is the tropical moisture feed, working all the way from the Southwest Caribbean into the storm's center, and of course across the state of Florida. So even in that solution, if it stays well off to our west, Florida is still likely to get into that moisture feed and likely to get some fairly significant rain. This is what the European model is putting out for total rainfall, showing a broad 2 to 3 inches of rain. It's probably underdoing it, but these global models can't really look at the sort of localized thunderstorms that get going, but still would likely lead to a cloudy weekend and a stormy weekend for Southwest Florida. The GFS, while it doesn't actually close off and develop this system in the latest run, shows even more rain for Florida because it keeps the center of it closer to our coast and then brings it northward. Also, look at all the wind here, sort of bringing it together over South Florida. If we were to get closer to that area of low pressure, we'd also bring in severe weather to the equation, some strong to severe thunderstorms. So that's something we would watch for. But again, it never closes it off, and it tracks it out to the north and east. But when you look at the rainfall numbers, much higher. We're talking 5 to 10 inches on the GFS model. So again, when you look at the takeaways here, the main threat, if you haven't picked it up yet, will be for heavy rain and the potential for flooding. There's still lots of uncertainty with this, the exact track this will take, if it even comes together over the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on this. I know it's a big weekend. I know many of you want to get outside, but at this point it is looking like a fairly stormy weekend for Southwest Florida, thanks to that low moving its way into the Gulf and potentially developing. And if it were to become a tropical storm or subtropical storm, it would of course be the first of the season, which doesn't actually start until June 1st, but it would take the name Alberto. So yeah, we'll be watching for that. Keep it with us on air and online for updates here at ABC 7. And until then, I'm meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great day.